Hello everyone. So far we have mainly worked with controllers. Now we are going to be starting our work with providers. So there can be multiple types of providers in NestJS framework. But for now we will first be discussing about service providers, or more likely services. So before just directly diving into services or providers, we first need to understand what is dependency injection. Just like the name suggests, dependency injection means that your dependency is being injected into your another class. Normally, your services are being injected to controllers. Let me show you an example about what I mean by dependency. So car has engines. That means car depend upon engines. So as you can see, we have two classes here. One is engine and the other is class, right? So here the class car depend upon engine. And how do we do that? You can see that in class car, we are directly instantiating the engine class. So this is the example of non-dependency injection. Like if you have come from any other programming languages, this is how you create an instance. This is actually, you can say that car is now tightly coupled with engine. So if you make any change in the engine, you would have to make your change in the car class as well. So this is an example of how tightly coupling works. But normally in good coding practices we prefer that our services are loosely coupled with our controllers. So if you make any change in the service, you don't have to make a change in the controller. For example, you have a users class and users data is coming from your database. But in future, you change your database from, for example, MongoDB to SQL. Now you make your change in the service of a user, but since it is very tightly coupled, you would have to make your change in a user controller as well. But obviously you should not do that. So as a good coding practice, we prefer to use dependency injection, which helps us with one goal of loosely coupling, and there are definitely other benefits as well, which we will be discussing in future as well when we are implementing dependency injection. So let's move forward and see how dependency injection works in a Nest.js framework. In order to make something injectable, we are going to be using an injectable decorator, obviously just like a name suggests. So let's import injectable from Nest.js common and then use it as a decorator. You can see that I have created a cats.service.ts file in our cats directory where we already had one controller that we worked in our previous lectures. So I will also just remove it for now and just let it be, and we will work our way towards this. So for now, let's just focus on our services part, right? So we have imported injectable and now we have to use it as a decorator for our class. And let's name the class. Yeah, obviously the AI gave me the code for this. Let's see if the code is good enough. It is giving me red error because of end of line sequence. Let me correct it now. Okay, now it is good. So let's see what we have here. So we use injectable decorator right below our class. You can name your class anything, but since this is a service of a cats, we are going to be using cat service as our class name. Next step, what we are doing here is we are declaring a variable cats which is private read only. So be very specific that this is TypeScript kind of things. So this cats variable is supposed to be an array of strings in our TypeScript domain, and we have now defined as an empty array. Now we have defined a method create which takes a cat singular cat which is in a string and then pushes it to this particular array, this dot cats dot push cat. And then our second method is find all, where all of the cats are being returned. Now let's try and make it work with our controller. Okay, so let's inject this service in a controller to be very precise. So how do we do that? Let's figure it out. Okay, So the very first step is to import cat service from cat.service. How about we just remove our code that we don't need right now here. Okay, now we have a very simple cat service which is imported here. Now let's see how do we perform dependency injection. It is pretty simple actually. What we have to do is use a constructor. Yeah, it gave me the code here. So constructor private read only cat service, this, which is the name of a variable which we are going to be using, and of a type of cat service. This is the easiest possible way for you to use dependency injection in NestJS. But obviously we are missing one thing which we will be covering after a little while. Okay, let's now create a post service which creates a cat. Okay, so for that let's import post and body and then use it here. So use post and then async create, yeah, something like this. So let this cat not be a string, let it be any for now, except any kind of shape. We are not doing any sort of validation here. So what I have done here is I have used a post decorator to create a post type of API endpoint for a function for above this method. This is an asynchronous method of create which accepts a body for which I have used a variable name cat which can be of any type, and that I have provided directly to my cat service to create a cat obviously. So let's also put a log here, see what we are receiving. Let's open up Postman. So we have our app running. I don't think I have started my app as of now. Yeah, so when I started my app, I got an error. So I told you a little earlier that we are missing one thing, which I would be explaining you a little later. And that one thing is, even if you have created your service like this using injectable, and then you have properly imported here and then injected here as a constructor, there is a one key piece missing. And I will show you that error now. You can see Nest can't resolve dependency of cat's controller. Please make sure that the argument cat service is at index 0 is available in the app module context, and it is giving you potential solutions. So what you have to do, you can't just directly import any service from one module to within a one module or from one module to another module and expect it to work until and unless it is actually provided as a provider to your app module. So what you have to do here is you can see that in our app module we have registered our controllers, but we have not yet registered any of the service, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use cat service like this and hit save, and let's see if the error goes away or not. Yeah, error goes away. So you have to remember the steps. You have to first create a service here, like from injectable decorator. Service and controllers are both classes. The only difference is it comes from the decorators that you use above them. Obviously, you know, decorator adds a kind of a metadata to shape how the class is supposed to work. So this class is now a cat service. You have made it an injectable. The second step is that you have now imported the cat service from in your controller and then injected it with the help of your constructor. Third step is to make sure, it is not a third step, it is the most important step. You have to make sure that your service is registered as a provider. There can be multiple types of providers. Currently we are learning service types of providers. So you have to make sure that your service is registered in your app module. We will also be learning a separate module system but in future, but you have to make sure that your controllers as well as your services are properly registered within a module. That is what the point is. Okay, so now let's move on to our Postman. So you can see that I had created a post request in my controller like this post request, and it accepts any kind of body. So let's go to the body part. I've clicked on raw JSON and now give it name. I don't know any cat's name, maybe Tom and Jerry, so put it as Tom, and hit send. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so this console works and the request has been properly accepted here, and it should go to now cat service dot create and add it to our cats. Let's now create a find all method to get all of the cats. So let's go here, cat async find all. It's a type of promise and it returns all of the cat services. You can see this dot cat service dot find all, and find all is a method here which returns all of the cats. So let me just show it to you. This dot cats is this particular variable in which we are going to be adding our cat whichever we use from the post request. So let me revise it again. We have a cats variable here and we have two methods here. Create methods, what it does is whatever is being received from the postman from the front end, it adds that to this particular array. And this find all method, what it does is it returns that particular variable, whether it is empty, whether it is filled. And here we have created two handlers. One handler take cares of this dot cats dot service, this cat service dot create. The other handler works with this dot cat service dot find all. So let's import cat from here and let's see if it works or not. The server should be restarted in a second, and let's go first and see the same request that we have here in a get, and we should be able to see an empty array. Now let's add a cat here, and you can see that 201 created is the default HTTP status for the post request. And in the get, whenever we hit, we see 200, and now we see an object. Let's add another Tom's brother, I guess. Let's hit send. Okay, I think this is how it should be on this. And in a get request, we now have two objects. So this is a simple demonstration of how dependency injection actually works. I hope it made sense to you. Thank you.